sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Okay, so have you seen that video? You know the one?
With the kayaker?
Yeah, in Chile. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, where he's like swallowed by the whale. I did see that, yeah.
It's wild, right? Like you see this huge humpback. I mean, massive breach. And then this guy, Adrian Simancas, poof, gone. Just disappears. Him and his kayak, it was even on the news here.
Yeah, I can see why it like went totally viral. I mean, that's kind of everyone's like worst nightmare, right? Being swallowed by a whale.
Totally. But so the Life Science article that we're looking at today, actually, explains like what really happened. And it turns out this isn't even the first time something like this has happened.
Oh, wow. Really? You think that would be a like once in a lifetime kind of thing?
I know, right? So we're going to break down exactly what happened to Adrian, whether humpbacks like actually eat people, and some other crazy close encounters that might have you thinking twice before you go to the beach next time.
Okay, yeah, let's dive in.
So picture this, okay? Adrian's kayaking with his dad in the Strait of Magellan, which, by the way, is this narrow passage, like at the very southern tip of South America. It connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans.
Oh, wow. Okay, so like a really dynamic waterway. Probably a lot of marine life there.
Exactly, and that's where the humpback comes in. So Adrian just paddling along, enjoying the view, and boom, this whale just explodes out of the water. It looks like it totally engulfs him in his kayak. I mean, thankfully, his dad was filming and caught the whole thing, but I'm sure he was freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, I bet. But okay, so that brings up the question, like, do humpback whales actually eat people? I mean, they have those enormous mouths.
That's what I thought too, but actually, according to this article, humpback whales absolutely do not eat people.
Oh, interesting. Well, it makes sense when you think about what they eat, right? They're baleen whales, so they have those plates of baleen in their mouths instead of teeth.
Baleen. What is that exactly?
So it's this bristle-like material that hangs down from their upper jaw, kind of like the bristles on a broom. And it acts as like a giant filter. So they take in these massive gulps of water, sometimes over 5,000 gallons, and then they use their tongue to push the water out through the baleen, and that traps like tiny prey like krill and small fish.
5,000 gallons. That's more than my bathtub. I definitely couldn't fit in there. So you're saying we're too big to be whale food? Exactly.
There's a quote from a whale expert in the article, Eric Hoyt, and he basically says that Adrian was just an accidental catch, Think about it like if you're fishing with a net and you accidentally scoop up a leaf.
Oh, so Adrian was like a big, unsuspecting leaf.
Pretty much. And the article says that the whale would have expelled him almost immediately, which is exactly what happened.
Wow, so he was really lucky.
Yeah, Adrian was released totally unharmed after a few probably terrifying seconds.
I can only imagine. But, okay, so this got me thinking, have there been other cases like this?
That's a great question. I mean, it would be really interesting to know if this has happened before.
Well, you know what? It's not a one-off freak accident. It's actually happened a couple of times.
Really? No way.
Yeah. In 2020, two kayakers in California had a really similar experience. They were just paddling along, minding their own business, and all of a sudden, bam, a humpback just seemingly swallows them whole.
Wow. And were they okay?
Oh, yeah, completely fine. Popped right back up, probably a little shaken, understandably, but unharmed. The article says that they were probably right above a school of fish that the whale was targeting, so they basically just got caught in the feeding frenzy.
Wow, it's like being in the wrong place at the wrong time, but on a, epic scale.
Right. And there's another story from 2021 with a lobster diver in Massachusetts. He estimated that he was inside a humpback's mouth for 30 seconds.
30 seconds? That's like an eternity underwater.
I know, right? Can you imagine? I don't think the article really explains why the whale held on to him for so long. But again, they think he was just too close to where the whale was feeding and kind of got swept up in it.
Wow. Okay, so it seems like even though these encounters are terrifying, they're mostly accidental and really tied to the whale's feeding behavior.
Exactly. And I'm kind of curious now. So, if humans are too big to be swallowed, are there any other creatures that do end up as accidental whale snacks?
Well, there actually are.
Really?
Yeah, the article mentions these small seabirds called Cassin's auklets that have sometimes been found in whale stomachs.
Wow, even birds. So it really is like a giant net just scooping things up indiscriminately.
In a way, yeah. But it's important to remember that these are really isolated incidents. Whales aren't actively hunting humans or birds. They're focused on, those tiny krill and fish.
Okay, that's good to know. But even though they're not trying to eat us, can they still, accidentally hurt us? even if they're not trying to.
That's a really good point. And it's important to remember that even though humans are too big to be swallowed, whales are incredibly powerful animals.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've seen those videos of them breaching. It's mind-blowing.
Exactly. And those breaches are just a glimpse of their strength. The article actually mentions this incident in Australia where a mother humpback charged a group of swimmers and ended up sending 2 people to the hospital.
Oh, wow. So I guess mothers with calves are especially protective.
It seems that way, yeah. So the takeaway there is that it's crucial to give them space, especially if you see a mother and her calf. But, even though we've been talking about the potential dangers, it's also important to remember that humpbacks are generally known for being gentle giants.
Yeah, that's true.
They've even been observed protecting other animals from predators like killer whales.
Really? So they're like the guardians of the ocean, protecting the little guys.
Yeah, kind of. They're fascinating creatures, and I think understanding their behavior is really key to coexisting safely. But you mentioned earlier that Adrian initially thought the whale might have been a killer whale, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So does that change things? Are killer whales actually as killer as their name suggests?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
Well, that's where things get really interesting and honestly a bit surprising.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Because despite their name and their reputation, there are actually no recorded cases of wild killer whales killing and eating humans.
Wait, really? I always thought they were super dangerous.
It's a common misconception. They're incredibly intelligent and complex animals. And while there has been those recent incidents with orcas attacking boats in Europe, even those didn't involve predation.
So they're ramming boats but not eating people. That's so strange. Any idea why they might be doing that?
Researchers are still trying to figure that out. Some think it might be a form of play, or maybe a learned behavior that's spreading through some populations. It's definitely a puzzle, but it doesn't seem to be about trying to, eat people.
Okay, well, that's a relief. I guess the name killer whale is a bit misleading then.
Yeah, definitely a bit traumatic. And you know what? The only confirmed case of a wild orca bite on a human was way back in 1972. And they think the orca probably mistook the surfer for a seal.
Wow, so we've got humpbacks accidentally scooping up kayakers and killer whales maybe playing a little rough with boats. It's all pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is, and it just makes you realize how much we still don't know about these incredible creatures and the vastness of the ocean.
That's a great point. I think we need to dive a little deeper into that, but that's a discussion for part 2 of our deep dive.
Okay, sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Okay, so we're back, and I'm still kind of reeling from all those whale encounter stories. I mean, they're terrifying, but also kind of amazing.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the drama of it all, but I think what really struck me was just the scale of it all.
Yeah, I think I see what you mean. We see these pictures and videos, but do we really grasp how massive whales truly are?
Exactly. I mean, for instance, an adult humpback can grow to be as long as a school bus.
Wow, a school bus. Okay, yeah, suddenly those kayakers don't seem so big anymore.
Right, and their mouths are huge. I mean, think about it. They can open their jaws wide enough to engulf a small car.
Okay, yeah, now that you put it that way, I'm a lot less surprised that a kayak could accidentally end up inside one.
Right. It just really highlights the importance of respecting their space, We're talking about animals that weigh upwards of 40 tons. That's 80,000 pounds.
That's insane. It's mind-boggling how something that massive can move so gracefully through the water.
I know, it really is. Their bodies are just perfectly adapted for life in the ocean. And speaking of adaptations, this brings us to another fascinating aspect of humpback whales. Their songs.
Oh yeah, the famous humpback whale songs. I've always wanted to hear one in person. What makes them so special?
Well, humpbacks are known for these really complex and haunting vocalizations that can last for hours and travel for miles underwater.
Miles? Seriously? Wow, so they're like the opera singers of the ocean.
Ha, in a way, yeah. And what's even more intriguing is that these songs actually evolve over time. Research has shown that different populations have their own distinct song patterns, and these patterns actually change from year to year.
That's incredible. So it's they're sharing musical trends across the vastness of the ocean. Do we know why they sing?
That's a question that has puzzled scientists for years. We still don't fully understand the purpose, but there are some leading theories. Some believe that they're used for communication, perhaps to attract mates or establish dominance within their social structures.
So it could be their way of saying hey, check out my amazing song. I'm the best singer in the pod.
Haha, exactly. It's a testament to how intelligent and complex these creatures really are. But Maybe let's shift gears for a moment and talk about another type of whale encounter that's been making headlines. The orca boat attacks in Europe.
Yeah, I've heard about those. Orcas like ramming and damaging boats. It's pretty unsettling. Do we know why they're doing that?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. While there's no evidence to suggest that they're trying to harm humans directly, their behavior is definitely concerning and has, sparked a lot of debate.
Yeah, I can see why people are worried. What are some of the leading theories about what's causing these attacks?
Well, one possibility is that it's a learned behavior, maybe triggered by a specific negative encounter with a boat in the past.
Oh, so it could be like a chain reaction where one group of orcas teaches the behavior to others.
Precisely. Orcas are incredibly social animals, and they learn from each other. Another theory is that it could be a form of play, or even a way of expressing frustration.
I mean, I guess it could be fun for an orca to, mess with the boat, but it's definitely not a laughing matter for the people on board.
Haha, that's true. And that's why researchers are working really hard to try to understand the root causes of this behavior. The more we learn, the better equipped we'll be to mitigate the risks and ensure the well-being of the orcas and the boaters.
Because at the end of the day, we want to be able to, share the oceans safely, right?
Absolutely. These encounters, whether accidental or, intentional, are just a reminder that we share the ocean with these magnificent animals and that our actions have consequences.
That's a really good point. I think it's a perfect transition into talking about our responsibility towards these creatures. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground already, but there's still so much more to explore.
Definitely. There are some important takeaways from these encounters that I think we need to address.
Okay, yeah, I'm ready to keep diving in. What are some things we haven't really talked about yet?
Well, I think we've focused a lot on the individual encounters, but it's important to kind of zoom out and consider the broader context of these interactions.
Okay, that makes sense. What do you mean by broader context?
Well, think about it. These encounters are actually relatively rare, considering the vastness of the ocean and the sheer number of whales and humans who share this space.
That's a good point. It's easy to get fixated on those dramatic videos, but statistically speaking, these incidents are pretty few and far between.
Exactly. And while those close calls can be terrifying, they also underscore the importance of understanding and respecting wildlife and their habitats.
Yeah, we've touched on this a bit, but I think it's worth diving deeper into what it means to be responsible ocean enthusiasts. What are some practical steps that we can take?
Well, for starters, I think education is key. Before you even set foot in the water, take some time to learn about the different types of whales, their habitats, their behaviors.
I bet there are tons of resources out there documentaries, books, online courses.
Oh, absolutely. There's a wealth of information at our fingertips. And then, when you are out on the water, whether you're kayaking, boating, or swimming, always be mindful of your surroundings.
So keep a safe distance from whales, especially to see a mother with a calf.
Exactly. And avoid approaching them head on or from behind. Always try to approach and depart from the side slowly and predictably so you don't startle them.
And if you are lucky enough to have a whale encounter, as tempting as it might be, don't try to touch them or interact with them.
Right. Let them dictate the interaction. And remember that even seemingly small actions like making loud noises or sudden movements can disrupt their natural behaviors.
So it's all about being mindful guests in their home.
Precisely. And beyond individual actions, we can also support organizations that are working to protect whales and their habitats.
Yeah, I know there's some amazing groups out there doing incredible work in research, conservation, and education.
Absolutely. By supporting those efforts, we can all play a part in ensuring that future generations have the opportunity to marvel at these incredible creatures. But there's another aspect that we haven't really touched on yet. One that I think delves into the heart of our relationship with whales.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued. What are we missing?
Well, we've talked about the physical encounters, the scientific facts, the do's and don'ts. But what about the awe-inspiring wonder of it all?
You mean the emotional connection?
Exactly. These whale encounters, while sometimes scary, they ultimately remind us of the interconnectedness of all life on Earth. They challenge us to be better stewards of the ocean and all its inhabitants.
Yeah, I like that. It's a powerful perspective.
So the next time you see a video of a whale breaching or hear a story about a about a counter. Remember that there's a much bigger picture at play.
It's a story of like shared spaces, respect, and the awe-inspiring wonder of the natural world.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's a good place to pause for now.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this episode. We've explored the surprising frequency of whale encounters, the science behind their behavior, and our responsibility as ocean enthusiasts. But our deep dive isn't over yet.
There's one more crucial aspect I think we need to explore before we wrap things up.
Oh, okay. Can't wait to hear what it is. Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive into these fascinating whale encounters. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into these incredible whale encounters.
We've talked a lot about the physical stuff, right? The size of the whales, how they eat, the potential dangers.
Right, like the hows and the whys of these close calls.
But there's another layer to all this, I think, something that's really important, the emotional side.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. It's one thing to, read about it, but it's another to actually imagine yourself in that situation. Like, wow.
Right. It's got to be intense. These encounters, whether it's a humpback scooping up a kayaker or, an orca bumping a boat, they trigger some pretty strong emotions, don't they?
Fear, definitely. And awe, wonder, maybe even a sense of vulnerability.
Yeah, all of that. I think it taps into something, deep down, like a primal awareness of our place in the world.
Like a reminder that we're not always at the top of the food chain. There are forces out there that are way bigger than us.
Totally. And yet, even with the danger, there's this undeniable wonder that comes with these encounters.
Like being in the presence of something, truly magnificent, ancient, powerful.
It's humbling, for sure. And it can really shift your perspective. Makes you think about how we relate to the ocean and everything in it.
Yeah, I think that's why these stories are so fascinating, right? It's not just about whales, it's about us too. It's about fear and awe, our connection to nature, and our responsibility to protect it.
Exactly. They force us to look at our own assumptions about the ocean and the creatures that live there.
We often think of the ocean as this vast, empty space. But these stories show us that it's actually teeming with life, complex ecosystems, all these relationships between different species.
And we're just starting to scratch the surface of understanding it all, that delicate balance that keeps everything working.
So when we hear about a whale encounter, it should be more than just, a news story or a viral video. It should be a call to action.
A call to learn more about these animals, respect their space, and fight for their protection.
Because ultimately their future is tied to ours, right? The health of the ocean depends on the well-being of all the creatures that live there, including whales.
Absolutely. And I think as we've seen in this deep dive, our actions have a real impact on their lives, for good or for bad.
So maybe it's fitting to end with a question for our listeners, what will you do to make sure these amazing animals keep thriving in our ocean?
Will you be a passive observer or will you be an advocate? It's up to each of us.
That's a powerful thought to leave us with. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into these extraordinary whale encounters. Thanks for joining us. And remember, the ocean is this incredible world of wonder, just waiting to be explored and protected.
Yeah, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all